get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, the most popular homesteading channel on the entire internet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading. By the way, you can like us and follow us over at Homesteading Off the Grid on Facebook also. We have a page that my wife runs, and a lot of folks comment on there because we do a lot of riddles, jokes, mind puzzles, and then, reels of some of the wildlife that goes through our yard while we're on the porch, deer, raccoons, everything. But people are often commenting, what does this have to do with homesteading? For instance, we'll ask a question like, what in your lifetime, what is the biggest societal change you've seen that's surprised you the most? People will comment. Instead of answering it, they'll say, what does this have to do with homesteading? That's the genius of it. That's the most popular homesteading page on Facebook that has nothing to do with homesteading. Just like this is the most popular homesteading channel on YouTube that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading. You don't get it, brah. That's why we say that. Gosh. Hey, Cardinal. What's up? All right, so it's almost dark. 6 weeks till Halloween. Can you believe it? 2 weeks till October. I love it. My favorite time of year. A lot of y'all's favorite time of year, those of you watching. We're just inside the wood line where field meets forest. We're at elevation. There's a light drizzle. It's almost dark, and we're getting closer to Halloween, which means the veil is getting so thin you can almost see through it. So make sure to get my 6. You never know who or what may or may not show up back here, like right in this area especially. I'm going to read you some creepy tales. I went through here and I selected 3 that I do not believe I've ever shared on this channel. This is from True Hauntings Volume 3, Personal Stories of Real Experiences with the Paranormal, Supernatural, Cryptids, Aliens, and UFOs. And by the way, we are doing the final edits on Volume 4. Couldn't believe it. We haven't had one of these volumes come out this entire calendar year, 2023. So this is going to be the first. There's still room for a couple of more submissions. So if you have a creepy story, something that happened to you or somebody you know, paranormal related or anything along these lines, send it to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. Give us your permission to use the story, and we'll put it in Volume 4 if you get it to us in time. There's still room for a couple of more. Appreciate everybody who's been sending in your submissions. I heard footsteps. I can hear the rain falling. It's very light, but I just heard something that was not rain. So keep getting my 6. Let me get my old man glasses here. All right. Just 3 quick ones. Tomorrow's Monday. I know a lot of you have to get up and go to work tomorrow, so I can't keep you up too late. All righty. So this is really creepy. I read this. It's short. It's called Mysterious Visitor, submitted by Tracy Stevens. And folks, a lot of these were submitted anonymously, or the folks, I know their names, but they asked me to publish their stories or tell their stories anonymously because a lot of folks are professionals and they don't want people to know that they have had experiences in which people might not take them as seriously as professionals. So if you want to send us your stories anonymously, we'll honor that as well. But here is Mysterious Visitor, submitted by Tracy Stevens. Hi, Kevin. When I was in high school back in the 90s, we took a trip to D.C. to march in the Cherry Blossom Festival. I shared a room with another girl. It was just the 2 of us. In the middle of the night, I woke up because I felt someone staring at me. I know that sounds weird, but I think you know what I mean. Anyway, I saw my roommate walking around the room, back and forth, like she was pacing. I decided to just go back to sleep. The next morning, I asked her if she had trouble sleeping. She said no, and asked me why I asked. I told her I'd seen her pacing around the room in the middle of the night. She said, "Oh my God, I thought that was you." She'd seen the same thing. I never thought to look over at her bed. I just assumed it was her, as she had that it was me. The next night, which was our last night there, we had one of the chaperones stay in our room with us because we were scared. We never found out who it was. All the best, Tracy Stevens. Wow, isn't that creepy? Can you imagine that? Two high school girls away from home. You're in DC in a hotel. You just wake up and there's somebody pacing around your room. You assume it's your roommate. And then the next day you find out she saw the same thing and she assumed it was you, and it was neither of you. Whew, creepy. All right. See, and that, that might, who knows, might have been. We've had folks say that they've seen what appears to be a rake in some of these videos. We've gotten some really odd trail cam footage out here in this area. I just heard a screech coming from back there. And isn't that what rakes do? Don't they screech? That's a truck way down there on the road. No, I don't live right beside a highway. I live out in the middle of nowhere where noise travels and carries. But that screeching was not from the truck, so keep watching. All right. Moving on. We've got 3 of them for you here this evening. All right, what's this one called? The Twilight Zone, submitted by Roger Stevens. So, Roger Stevens, thanks for your submission. You have my permission to do what you will with this story. You can even use my name. I've told this story for years, since back in the early 1970s when it all happened. No one believed me then, and I doubt anyone will now, but I'm going to tell it nonetheless, and I swear on my life, every word of it is true. I grew up in a family in Cincinnati, Ohio that wasn't poor but wasn't too far from it. We didn't have a television, and my parents always said it was because it would rot our brains and that we should read books instead. Well, that's all well and good, but we didn't have any books either, so we knew the reason we didn't have a television was because we were so close to being poor. One day, my dad brought home this tiny little black and white television. He said he'd bought it at a yard sale he happened to be passing for $3. He said the man didn't even think it worked, but it might. My dad said that if we could just get it to come on and play the local stations via antenna, which was a metal coat hanger in our case, it would prove once and for all that we didn't need a television because all that was ever on was garbage anyway. As you might imagine, us kids were excited. We plugged the thing in, and all we got was snow and static until we turned to channel 13. The station came in crystal clear as if the television was new, and the show that happened to be on was the Twilight Zone. We loved it at first. We watched the Twilight Zone for 3 hours straight. And then my sister pointed out how there should be other shows coming on every 30 minutes. Then my brother pointed out that there were supposed to be commercials. Our dad got this strange look on his face. He ran over and grabbed the television and took off with it. He went over to the neighbor's house and asked if he could plug it in and try it. They let him, and not only did it not work at all, but it only had 12 channels. My dad took the television back to where he got it, or at least where he thought where he'd got it, but there was not just no yard sale there, but there was no house or houses. It wasn't even a neighborhood. It was an industrial park. There was a salvage yard and a commercial ice company. My dad ended up tossing the television in a dumpster at the industrial park and coming back home. To this day, we have no idea how to explain that strange event other than to say that we literally visited the Twilight Zone. There it is. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, even though no one has believed me any time I've told it in the past 50 years. Maybe you'll have better luck with it. Roger Stevens. Wow, Roger. What a neat story. There's just so much weird stuff out there. So much weird stuff out here. Like this guy. You think there's not weird stuff in the woods? Here's the woods, and here's me. Proof that there's weird stuff in the woods. All right, hey, follow us on Sick Twisted Humor over on Facebook too. We got like 704,000 followers. Help us get to 1 million before Christmas. If you do, then I'll tell you Merry Christmas. All right. The basketball. This one's creepy. Wow, I can see so much better with these glasses. Oh. You guys see anything up in here? Look at that. You see like a haze, like an energy or an aura right there? All right. the basketball. Submitted by Karen Davis. Thank you for your story, Karen Davis. Hi, Kevin. I love your YouTube channel. I don't care what you talk about or what you make a video about. I enjoy all of it. It's like an old vaudeville show. You never know what you're going to get. Well, you sure ain't going to get nothing about homesteading. I'll tell you that right now. Brah. I can't. Then we wouldn't be the most popular homesteading channel on the internet that has nothing to do with homesteading. It's not rocket science. God. Okay. I have a very short, sweet, and simple story for you. I know that it's paranormal or supernatural related. I just don't know how or why. I mean, I can tell you what happened, but I don't know any story behind the story as to why it happened. I worked as a janitor for a school system for 25 years. I spent the last 18 of those years working for one of the high schools in the county. One night, I was sitting in the basketball auditorium eating my lunch. I worked from after school around 3:30 until about 10 o'clock at night. So it wasn't really lunch, but my work shift food break. This would have been around 7:30 in the evening. Did you hear those footsteps? They are so close that whatever it is, I should be able to see it. And I can't. I tell you, these stories aren't nearly as creepy as who may or what may or may not be creeping up behind me to hear them, though. That's just that cardinal. All right, let me get to this while there's still enough light to see it. Sitting there having my work break. This would have been around 7:30 in the evening. Since it was winter, it was already dark outside, so there was no light streaming through the side exit doors. Hey, shh. Shh. The only light in the auditorium was what was coming through the main door from the hall and the faint red glow of the two exit signs hanging above the doors that exit the building on the other side. I was sitting on the first row of the stands, practically in the dark, chewing on a sandwich, when I sensed something, like movement. I glanced over to my left and a basketball was slowly rolling up the court. It was out in the middle of the court. I was thinking, what the? Anyway, it made it all the way to the other side of the court. It bumped into the wall and came to a complete stop against the wall. It hadn't had enough momentum to bounce off of the wall and roll back. I looked down to the other end of the court and I squinted my eyes and I could see nobody down there. The place was empty. I was the only person in the building except for one other janitor, and I knew he was on the opposite end of the school. I keep eating my sandwich and I sense movement again. I look over and the same ball is now rolling down to the other side of the court. I watched as it slowly rolled all the way to the end. It stopped once it got there and it didn't roll again. I talked to the basketball coach about it when I saw him a few days later, and he told me he'd never experienced anything like that. I even talked to the principal. He'd been at the school forever and he'd spent plenty of late hours there, and he said he never had anything like that happen either. Like I said, I can only tell you the what of it, but I can't tell you the why. I have no idea why that ball did that, but it did, and it absolutely had to be paranormal or supernatural related. Thanks for your time and keep up the good work with your show. Karen Davis. Karen Davis, thank you. Thank everybody who submits stories to these. These are nice little collections. By the way, they're 40,000 words long, which is the length of a novel. If it's 19,999 words or less, it's a short story. 20 to 39,999,000 words is a novella. 40,000 plus is a novel. So we always make sure that you're getting full-length novel worth of short stories in here. You can get these on Amazon in print or Kindle, or you can get autographed copies from our Etsy store. Again, if you have a creepy story like this, submit them to the channel with your permission to use it, and we'll tell it on the show, put it in the book. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. I'll tell you, I hope you're as excited for October as I am, because in October, we're coming out here every night. This is just a warm-up. We're going to be coming out a few nights a week, warming up. In October, it's every night. Creepy Stories going to have some of the new stuff for you from Volume 4. So tune in, tell everybody, send your friends. Tell them to come to the most amazing homesteading channel on the internet that has nothing to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. And until you do, when you do come back, we'll see you then. I'm getting out of here, getting in the house before it's full dark. See ya.